What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're in the shop tonight and I've got a fuel line leak on my tractor here, and we're going to go about repairing this, and I want to show you guys a fuel line repair hack that might keep you from buying a fuel line from the dealer if you run into this situation. And you can use this on other things, tractors, cars, trucks, whatever. It doesn't matter, as long as you use some common sense when you're doing it. And don't be doing this, buying a hot exhaust manifold or on top of a hot engine. Use some common sense of where the fuel line is located, and it might save you some money. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. This tractor has pre-made fuel lines on it. As you see right here, see how this is crimped? This is a metal line. It goes to crimped and then abraded, and it's got a hose clamp on this end right here where it goes back to the steel. This line, the inside of it has deteriorated and ruptured. You can see right here it's wet and it's leaking fuel off right here. I'm not sure what Mahindra wants for this line, but it comes around. You see right here it's metal. It's got a bracket right there, and then it comes around to the tank here. Goes back to another crimp piece, an abraded piece with a clamp going into the fuel tank. This is not high pressure. In this application, that's just a return, the excess return from the tank, from the pump, and the other line is a suction line. It doesn't have an in-tank pump or anything like that. So all of this is fairly low pressure, but you do want a good quality hose. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this right here off where it's factory crimped with a cutoff wheel, 3-inch cutoff wheel on a die grinder. Got my setup right there I'm going to use to do that. You have to be careful not to nick the line, and I'll have to prise it with a screwdriver and take my time with it and get it off of there. But you need some good fuel line, and for whatever reason the parts house does not keep very much good fuel line. This is high pressure fuel injection line right here. It's rated at 225 psi. This is hard to come by, seem like, at least in my town. Parts house, this is all they had of it, and that was after I went to the second parts house. This is not the correct hose clamps that goes with this line. When you use this line on a high pressure injection system like it is made for, there's a special hose clamp that's a band style clamp that has a smooth surface, kind of like a turbo boot clamp they use with these, but they didn't have any of that. Luckily they had a piece of hose, and I wanted this hose because it's stiffer than the normal old hose. It holds its shape better and less likely to collapse on itself. It's also better quality hose, better made, so it should last longer than the regular old carbureted style gas hose that everybody keeps in stock. And so that's another thing I really do not understand, why the parts house, they haven't made a carbureted vehicle in over 30 years from the factory. You go to the parts house and you ask for some fuel line, they give you fuel line that is made for the carbureted vehicles. And as I say, they haven't made that in 30 years. Everything's fuel injection. You ask for fuel injection line, they look at you, oh, well, I don't know if we got any of that or not. Why not? It's what they've been making for 30 years. Do they not have an issue with it? Does nobody ever has to buy a piece of line nowadays? It's kind of ridiculous, which I know most of them are quick connect fuel lines and whatnot, but there are certain situations, especially on diesel trucks, that, fuel return lines and stuff like that, you really want a better quality hose than that cheap stuff that they keep in stock, that they keep rolls of in stock. And the guy told me he could get me some the next day from O'Reilly's, and I told him I'd go to Napa and see if they had any. Anyway, Napa had that. It's got a 2015 date on it, so it's been in stock for quite a while. So I guess, at least in my town, if you want some high pressure injection hose or some quality transmission oil cooler hose that you can pretty sure you can get your hands on, I guess you got to order some and keep in stock yourself. I don't need that stuff that often, but it would be nice if the parts house had it, because sometimes you need a piece of transmission oil cooler hose or a piece of high pressure injection line, something, a good quality hose that's not going to blow out on you. So that's a little bit aggravating. But anyway, I'm going to get you guys set up over here, and we're going to cut this off. And this should be have like a ferrule on it or whatever so that the hose or flare on it, whatever I'm trying to say, that the hose will slide on here and put a clamp behind it and it'll hold on there. If it does not, and you're in a case where you have to cut this hose, like you could cut this hose off right here, they make a flaring tool that you can actually flare these hoses. It's actually made for brake lines and that sort of stuff, but you can use it and create you a little bit of a flare over here, and the hose will slide over and you put a clamp behind it to keep your hose from coming off. Especially important in whether you got pressure on it, but I would do it on anything, any kind of hose that I did, whether it was low pressure or high pressure. So again, if you use this, just use some common sense. You see where this is at. It's not in a place that there's any heat going to be, where it's going to get, you know, if something were to go catastrophically wrong, it's not going to cause a fire. It's not going to cause any injury, fuel spraying on exhaust manifold or anything of that sort. So just use some common sense if you do use this method. All right, guys, hopefully you can see what's going on there. Try to get you in here. I'm gonna start, I'm just gonna take this hose clamp off right here on this end to start with. I wish I'd have had the better hose clamp, but being so this is low pressure, it's not really gonna matter probably. There is some heat on this line right here, both from the outside and the inside, because when the diesel fuel returns to the tank, it is hot from going through, circulating through the injector pump. So it does need to be some halfway decent hose. So we'll get that off of there like that. Hopefully it'll come off of there. Fuel coming out. And we're just going to take our zip wheel here and cut this. Try not to cut into the line, or else we'll be cutting the line off and flaring it like I was talking about. I believe I'm all the way through it. I don't know if I can prise it open with a screwdriver here, get it off of there, if I'm gonna have to cut it again. Oh yeah, prise it right off of there. Throw this in the garbage over here. Alright guys, I'm going to bring you in here so you can see what I'm talking about. See how this hose here has got a factory flare on it right there? Or that steel line. And you can create a flare like that if you do have to cut it off on one, or say if it had a hole in this part and you needed to cut it right here, you could flare it, put your rubber hose on it, that sort of thing. But I think that's going to work out fine. These clamps that I got are not that great, but maybe they'll work for now. You need something other to be able to cut the hose in a halfway straight manner. I mean, a pocket knife will work, but you risk cutting your hand at the same time, so you don't want to do that. Alright guys, first thing I'm going to do is try to get me a length here, and it's not going to take all this. I got just what they had. I bought some extra there, and because I know I'm going to have some of these other places to fix as well. I'm just going to get me an idea about the length I need right there. Mark it with my hand and then cut it off straight. Like that. Put our hose clamps on here. Alright guys, that's all there is to it. As you can see, got it on there. Looks just like it came like that from the factory to me. Y'all know any difference? You can see right here where my rib's at on each end of the hose, and I will probably wind up replacing the others because I'm sure they'll start leaking there eventually. You got one there, one on the back side, and then there's one up here on the injector pump, right off the injector pump right there. I only used, let's see, set 7 or 8 inches of hose there. The hose and the 2 clamps was less than $6, and that was about 1.5 foot of hose or so that I got. I was going to get a little bit more, but that's all they had. But I do recommend a high pressure hose or something that's a little stiffer hose, a little better quality hose than that cheap gas hose that they got. That stuff, I've had problems with it collapsing on itself and just causing all sorts of issues using that cheap gas hose. I don't like the stuff at all. I don't even know why they still make it, because as I say, you can use this here. It's a little more expensive, but you can use this on carbureted stuff, but you can't use carbureted hose on fuel injection stuff. So why would you not keep the modern fuel injection hose? And then, you know, if there's one person that still has a carbureted vehicle, they could use that, you know, but whatever. Anyway, thought I'd show you guys this double flaring tool set upside down. This is just a cheap set, came from AutoZone back several years ago. I needed it to make a hose like this probably 10 or 12 years ago to do something similar, and this is what you get. And you can create a flare using something like this on the line there, so that when you push your hose on there, it does not slip off. Has these little deals here for the different size hoses. You can flare brake lines and that sort of stuff, transmission cooler lines, and I don't think this here comes in the kit. That was extra, but anyway, I just thought I'd show you guys that while I'm doing the video here. So you can do that if you need to cut a metal line and splice it with a rubber hose, as long as it's something fairly low pressure, like that right there is. Obviously you can't do that with a high pressure hose like hydraulics or nothing like that. Anyway guys, that's it for this video. I hope this helps somebody out. Not only for the money aspect, because you can save, some of these lines are 70, 80, 100 bucks. I haven't even priced that because I knew I wasn't buying one, because I already knew what I was going to do. But not only that, it'll save you downtime on your equipment, whatever it is. Say you're using this tractor for farming or whatever, if it's a piece of construction equipment, and you have to order a line from the dealer like that because it's leaking, and you're down for 3 to 5 days, a week, or whatever, waiting to get a line in, when you can go spend $6 on a piece of fuel line if you know what you're doing, and you can fix it like this and get back rolling, that means a lot. So anyway, I hope this helps somebody out. Thanks for watching. Hit like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll see you guys in the next video.